Welcome everyone to another episode of the Warmup. I'm here with the guys, man. It is me, back to back, Chris. We got Knives Out Reg, and we got Kev RL in the building. Say what's up to everyone who's tuned in for this episode, guys.
What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining us. Happy New Year.
Yes, sir. What's up?
Cool. Happy New Year, man. First show of the new year. So we took a couple of weeks off, man. So again, for those who have been waiting around patiently, thank you. And yeah, it's a new year, so we keep doing the same thing. We keep giving you what you want. If this is your first time listening to us, this is a place where we talk about sports, current events, and things in between through the lens of Black culture. Catch us here every Wednesday, and you can always catch us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your favorite podcast from, or YouTube. If you're not on the YouTube side of things, check us out on YouTube. We did do a couple of changes, some house cleaning. So our IG and our Twitter is no longer Grindhouse NTWK. It's now the Warmup Pod, which is the_warmup_pod. And you can find it on IG and Twitter, as well as what else were we missing? Well, that's what it is. So it's just a little bit of rebranding, kind of clean up some of the stuff, streamline some things, and so check us out there. Follow, like, subscribe, and all that if you like what you hear, what you're about to hear, and anything else. But hey, what's the Knives Out about, man? Go ahead and tell the people what the Knives Out about.
Well, I mean, one of our members has mysteriously disappeared, and that is a mystery movie. Throwing two and two together, and plus, it's also a reference to how there's been a lack of teeth on some of the topics that we'll be talking about today.
Lack of teeth. Okay, all right. Yeah. Look at you, man. Modern day poet. So I'll call you Tory Lanez. So
no, don't do that. Definitely not that.
So
I don't know what you got going on. So Rock Nation will pay.
Hey. Don't pay the man. Sometimes you can't pay the man sometimes, Maybe getting out here. So but yeah. Let's see here. All right. So first, let's get to the deets of today's show here. First things first is, man, Dana White, man. Apparently Dana White be out here stopping folks. Allegedly with video. I guess you can do that. Okay. Hey, he hasn't been tried and prosecuted, so this is all alleged. You didn't see it.
Did you allegedly see it, or did he allegedly do it?
I think
trying to figure out where he allegedly goes.
I think it allegedly happened.
It has me footing right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Allegedly, a guy who appeared to look like Dana White slapped his wife in a public setting.
That appeared to look like Dana White's wife.
Yeah. I mean, look, there's a lot of allegeds out here. We don't know. It could have been anybody. Could have been anybody.
If he apologized,
and he apologized,
and he apologized for allegedly doing something that he potentially could or could not be doing. So, but why didn't you guys hear about this? Because this happened over the holidays. The news is a little slow, and that'll be some good right time to just jump on something, right? Well, obviously, you probably haven't heard of it. I didn't hear much about it, and it's been kind of quiet. And one of the reasons people think that this is a thing and is because of the fact that there's a partnership, or there was some hush money, not even hush money, it's just kind of like a nudge, wink onto not discuss this as much and cover it as fully as they normally would, them being sports newscast, ESPN, maybe Fox Sports and things like that. Jemele Hill was known to publicly, lambast the Stephen A. Smiths of the world, calling his coverage of the situation going easy on him. And Jeff, I'm gonna say this wrong, Wagenheim, the writer at ESPN did put out a tweet saying something along the lines that we've been told to not say anything incendiary on social media about the Dana White situation, and I understand why, and I have abided by that. The clarification came out and said, well, there was no direct directive from ESPN bosses saying, what to say, what to not say about Dana White. No, it was strongly discouraged. So either way, the coverage on this has been light at best, considering how quickly they are to jump onto domestic violence disputes, whether it's the Richard Sherman situation, whether it's the Greg Hardy situation, whether it's the Jason Kidd from years back situation. There's a lot of precedent set for how ESPN covers athletes when it comes to domestic violence and personal things that they do in their personal lives, particularly football players. So I'll start with Knives Out, man. Get your knives out. Is there a double standard with how Dana is being covered versus other public figures in sports?
I think so, absolutely. I think if, we did make a little bit light of it, situations with Kyrie recently and his posting something and how it was interpreted and his, it was drawn out. It was a week-long debate. Did he apologize? Did he not? Was he apologizing enough? And all these kind of things, rightly so. You have the situation that we also saw. What was the other one that we were talking outside of Kyrie?
Let's see. There was a Kyrie thing. There was a Kanye thing.
I had brought up Ime
Udoka thing.
We didn't even have a lot of information, and what allegedly went down. You don't want to play the oppression Olympics or like who got hurt worse, but there was actual physical violence, in this situation. And I think, the writer alluded to there's a business partnership and relationship there, but there's kind of a wink, whether it's not direct or official with the NBA as well. So I'm not understanding why it's not covered the same. I think it should be covered the same. I think if anything, it should be worse because he's, at the top of UFC. If this would have been one of his fighters, it would have been a big news story. They also talked about that Stephen A. and the other co-host, I think, was it Molly
Kieran, yeah,
have a personal relationship or are friendly with Dana White. So, people who are usually the most outspoken and loud on a situation don't seem to be loud and outspoken, specifically Stephen A. Molly's not super loud, but you know what I'm saying. So I don't think it's appropriate for them to not discuss it or not make a big deal or have some accountability. I think if you have that friendship in that space there, you should hold your friends accountable too.
Facts.
Yeah. You have anything, Kev, you want to add to that?
I mean, at the very least, I think you ended up perfectly with the whole accountability situation because it wasn't anything to make light of. It's something that's serious. It should be taken serious. Everyone that witnessed it, everyone that watched the video, know what happened. We saw what happened, and he pretty much attacked her. I understand he got hit first, and some people are bringing that up as potential self-defense, but he went after her. He hit her once, and then he went after her to hit her again, and I feel like that needs to be a light needs to be shined on that, if for no reason other than to make these situations aware to others that this happens, even with people at the top level, like we just said. He's the head of UFC, so at the end of the day, you're a head of a organization that makes money off of violence, and you're out here perpetrating violence against the opposite sex, and that's not a story. I'm confused how that's not a story and how that's not something we want to put shine a light on. So at the end of the day, yeah, I definitely think there is a double standard being exercised right now when it comes to that story. And I've seen a lot of people come out and had similar thoughts. Hughley put out something about, Chris Brown, Bobby Brown, Antonio Brown, and all these other guys has done these things. We saw what happened. These news stories get drawn out, get harped on, even get brought up years after the fact. So the fact that this was just quietly reported and everyone went about their way tells us a lot.
Yeah.
I think that point you brought up was interesting too, with all the Brown. I don't know if it was a joke, because but whenever we bring up these people, it's very personal. It's not about what they did, just what they did. It's just we always joke about one of our mutual friends and say Antonio Brown is not a good person, but it gets personal. It's not about the action they did. It becomes a character. Oh, this person's a piece of this, a piece of that. So in this case, all of a sudden it's just like they could separate the action from the person. Like it doesn't seem like it's very balanced. I would like to see at the very least, consistently what I've seen that if for me that's a positive outcome for any of these situations is that if they are going to remain together, I don't want to just an apology. Like go, make it public that you're going to go get some help and y'all gonna figure this out and move forward the right way at the very least.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of agree with what you guys said. I think everything that you guys said was pretty spot on with respects to just kind of how it should have been handled, what you would have expected, and if that really compromises just that integrity or, introduce that, the knowledge that there's going to be some double standard when it comes to who and how they choose to report on certain figures in the sports part of the industry, or sports industry. So, I did think about, all of these people, man, that they've covered. And I mean, they've harped on Greg Hardy. I think I mentioned Ray Rice. I mean, Ray Rice was a thing that went on for at least a month. Like the investigation, how they got the tapes, what they should do.
Jameis Winston.
Yeah, Jameis Winston, all this stuff. And we just talking about people who are on from the domestic side. Then talk about the non-domestic side. Kyrie thing, the Kaepernick thing took that was basically the whole season. It's like maybe 8 weeks or so of just constant coverage. And this guy was just not having, just the space to operate without having someone. And he wasn't even doing anything. He was minding his own business. And the media came to him, was asking him all the questions. Like, hey, I know you would sit down. What was that all about? They didn't say the same thing to Marshawn Lynch, but Marshawn Lynch would sit down. But again, that's that whole quarterback prestige and leader of the team, captain of the team, blah 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 this. And so a lot of people really want to put a lot of I guess royalties at the feet of a quarterback versus a running back. But anyways, I digress. So,
but there's the commissioner, So how does the commissioner not have more light than a single quarterback? He's not even in the league.
Yeah, exactly.
That's crazy.
So that was going to be
Kaepernick went all the way up to the president of the United States commenting, saying the people who are kneeling or this and that and the third. So that's crazy.
Yeah. And so I think about that and just how harshly and how, well, I don't want to say predatory, but how just, rampant they go after these, athletes, these employees, these people who are on contracts versus, maybe someone who is a owner or CEO or the brand of MMA. if you think of one person as Dana White, it's not, you think of Dana White and then you think of everyone else. So that becomes this really just man, it just leaves the door wide open for people to speculate and think that they are showing favoritism and stuff. Even Jim Irsay, who was the owner for the Colts. I think he had a DUI or something like that. And if it was an NFL player, and they even said it, in a lot of those sports columns, if it was a player who got pulled over for DUI, there's all these things you gotta do to get back to, be compliant to play for the NFL. And yet, what is he doing? Oh, he's going to pay a little fines. Go to some drunk driving classes, and he's back on his. There's nothing that the NFL did to say, well, you got to do these things to get back, to owning the team and operating the team, whatever. So I say all that to say, they definitely had no problem pointing out, hypocrisies and stuff like that. I don't know why all of a sudden this one business partner who they are, they are in the same bed with, has that much pull to just be just don't cover this one, of all the things. So yeah, highly double standard. It's a very, very poor way of taking care, handling the situation. If anything, that diminishes your integrity as a sports outlet, as a media group,
correct,
as any of that stuff. And now you were already worried about losing, your fan base or your viewership, your viewer base. And, again, Jamel Hill mentioned it, and, some people mentioned it before outside of that. A lot of people didn't watch the six when it was the six, when it's Jamel Hill and Michael Smith. They didn't watch it because it was, the vibe that they were giving off. So, the other people, you may lose other people to this who are peeping out what's happening. Like, they may, like, Stephen A. is always going to get, like, the love or hate.
His views, his clicks, yeah.
But as far as a ESPN company, like, now, like, to me, that seems like you should have just been like, stay to the course. Everyone gets it. Partners and otherwise, and see how that worked out. But we'll see.
By trying to protect your business, you kind of hurting your business.
Exactly.
Your core business is not UFC. Your core business is being a reputable media company.
Exactly.
A family company. Like,
Remember Paul Pierce?
Yeah.
Remember Paul Pierce? Now that you brought up the family company, oh my god, she had this content. Oh my goodness.
Correct. What standard are you pushing with this? What message are you sending with this? Like, what are you for and what are you not for?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And even the point you brought up earlier with Jim Irsay, again, there's the steps, which is, like, sure, he's doing the drunk driving class and he didn't get as many steps as a player, but the narrative is not so, he's so stupid. He has these resources. He could have called, like, all these things. Mm-hmm. The narrative, a player would get the kind of expectations, the kind of pile on, the right, kind of really being down on somebody who makes a mistake. And maybe, they made a mistake and maybe you should hold them accountable, but that narrative is just so different for the people at the top for some reason. Crazy.
Yeah. So how does this make institutions like ESPN look now that we have this information? Not, nothing's been conclusive, but this is all like speculative. Like, we just feel like this is the case based off the information we have. How does it make ESPN and other Fox Sports and whoever else is covering media, and like these big media conglomerates, how do they make them look now that we know this?
You can look at it in different ways. They kind of look pay to play. Like, you can buy a story, you can kill a story. If you have the right checkbook, you can kind of control the information that goes out. It also makes you kind of look at them a little bit different because, like you said, when we looked at it, it's like, anybody could. Now it's like, if you come out Kyrie and Ime and all these other people in a certain way, but you don't do it for others, especially when you take things to like race into account, it's just like, whoa, like what's really going on here? Is there something darker or sinister going at the top? Like, when it's a certain group or a certain, class or whatever the case you want to call it, you can get real personal. Like, you can get really down on people, but when it's other people, it's just like, what are you gonna do? It happens. Mm-hmm. With respect to their privacy, they're good people and all this other kind of stuff. Like, it's even it leaves a sour taste in my mouth. I'll say that.
Definitely that. I question their motivation for just question their motivation. Like, these stories that you put out there that you're claiming to take the high road and condemn in certain situations. Are you doing that because you actually condemn these situations, or you feel like, hey, that's the hot story, or like Reg was saying, personal? You're taking jabs at somebody you feel like you could take jabs at. Or is it that you really stand by the things that you're saying? Now I have to question your motivations because this is something to stand against. Clearly, there shouldn't even be no room for what he did. Mm-hmm. And there should have been a hard stance and a hard line saying we don't condone any of this behavior, and he should be put out there. So now I'm questioning your motivations whenever you do report something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can see that as well. Hopefully this is something that they can learn their lesson on and right the ship, and just kind of, everyone can get it, anyone can get it, because you are the media outlet that people expect you to hold to a certain standard. And again, I'm not blaming any particular employee, contract employee, whoever. If anything, I'm blaming the bosses. Like, if that's a directive, is to discourage people from talking about certain groups of people or certain people in certain rooms, that have the, I guess, leverage, cachet, influence, whatever you want to call it, to where they can just call in and say, yeah, don't talk about that one, or fear of losing a partnership, which is basically money at the end of the day for them. Then it really speaks to what you guys are really more concerned about, which is making money, more so than being a news media outlet. So I think this may hurt in the short term. Hopefully, people forget things quick, so this will be over by in 6 months. No one's going to even think about this. But if this is something that continues to be a trend, because Twitter never forgets, the internet never forgets. So next time ESPN does some stuff that's some like, oh, you want to cover that? Remember this story here that you guys pushed under the, you guys kept on, on the back burner, or like, why you didn't do this, why you didn't cover that, or why did you cover this one and not that one? Like now, people have that against you. Now that's all you really need. So all you really need to do now is just, right the ship, address it, right the ship, and then hopefully move forward and rebuild that brand from those people's eyes. But maybe they're not thinking about that either. They don't care. They already made it. So.
I agree with the second. I don't think people usually people do tend to forget, but I feel like when you handle things a certain way, you kind of give that a life, because now it's like almost like how a joke can be a running joke. It's gonna be a running thing. Oh, you ain't say that about Dana White. Exactly. You ain't say that so something that probably would have went under, because a lot of people have had them does go unfortunately under the radar. Thing is gonna live longer because of the way they handled it. Yeah, which was not their intended, in fact, which is kind of ironic.
Yeah. And again, we talked about how long we talked about Kyrie. We talked about Kyrie for 2 weeks. Almost 3 weeks.
Longer.
Yeah, I felt like it was almost like 3 weeks.
And then people going back and saying, well, how long do you talk about Brett Favre? How long do you talk about, these other situations and stuff? Like, we people start to put those pieces together and make a picture, build a narrative off of that. And again, whether you like it or not, that may be your persona, that may be your public image. So when people start to say, I don't want to watch ESPN no more because they cover only the stuff that shines a negative light or a bad light on certain groups of people. You gotta understand that that's what you're doing. So yeah, we can put a pause in that, or we can put a needle in that, or a pin in that until they do something else ridiculous. Unless you guys have anything else you want to add to the ESPN.
I want to put out a quick question, and not really something we need to go into an answer in detail about. But we're talking about ESPN, but what about the social media presence of it as well? Because I haven't seen it myself, but I've heard others mention that it's not even popping off like that on social media either. So even the community at large, maybe some of the community isn't really, or a large part of the community isn't making a big deal about it either. So it's not just the media that seems to be getting directives or exercising their directives not to talk about it, but others are also being a little quiet about it. Maybe there's a group of social media individuals that are making some noise about it, but for the larger part, it seems to be pretty quiet in that scene as well.
I thought that was interesting as well. I know Chris mentioned Fox Sports, and I was like, oh well, maybe they're hoping if that don't work out, I can get the UFC business, because why aren't the other media outlets reporting on it either? Like ESPN, we're saying, okay, there's a relationship there, but why in general we don't hear any news outlets really pushing this? Not their competitors, not their friends, not, like you said, on social media, the people who are not part of the big media, but maybe they have a big following. They're not making a lot of noise about it. I don't know if it's because UFC is not as big of a sport. I don't follow it as much anymore, but maybe it is. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question. To answer, or at least provide my input on it, speculation at best, right? It's, again, I haven't even heard about it. I had someone had to tell me about it, and so again, the feeds that I normally get news throughout the day usually would talk about, they're talking about Twitch passing away. They were talking about all of this the Christmas, the what do you call it, the robberies and stuff around Christmas. They talked about that. They were talking about all the sports stuff. I mean, we was hearing the Christmas Day games. We was hearing, you know, the people getting new deals, signing for new deals in baseball. It never popped up.
After football, all that stuff.
Yeah, I didn't see one. That said Dana White. I don't know why. I don't know how. It was, if it wasn't for TMZ, probably. TMZ is the only way I heard it. Yeah,
that's the only way I heard about it, to be honest.
So maybe, yeah. So maybe it wasn't really booming on Twitter because it was. It just went through so few people's like, I guess feeds or whatever. Because like I said, I haven't heard of it, to be honest with you, until someone came and asked me about it. He's like, "Hey, you guys gonna talk about Dana White?" And I'm like, "What happened to Dana White?" He told me. I was like, "Oh, something I should look into." so that's how I found out, right, through hearsay. So I don't know how you guys, you know, found out about it. If you know, if it was recent, if it was like through your own, you know, volition, or was it something that, you know, someone just pushed across the table, or if it was me or whatever, like I don't know.
Right here,
I stumbled upon it earlier in the day, but it wasn't like you said. It's something I stumbled upon. It wasn't like when it's Kyrie is just trying to get away from it. Mm-hmm. Like instead of like you couldn't escape it. Like these other situations, like even if you were, I'm done. Like we done had the conversation 4 times. I don't want to talk about it no more. Not that I'm not interested, but I'm too saturated in it.
Yeah.
You couldn't make it go away. How people were talking about these things. And this thing is just like, you had to go fishing.
Yeah.
You had to be looking for news and looking, you know, the news pushed me TMZ. I don't usually see TMZ, but I was just like, matter of fact, to be honest, if and I don't know how your friend heard about it, I'm not going to credit TMZ. I got the information because of Jamel Hill. The article is what came across my feed. Her article about ESPN's handling of the situation brought me to be aware of what was going on, to follow up with the TMZ and whatnot. Mm-hmm. So that's how I.
Yeah.
So shout out to Jamel Hill.
Yeah, shout out to Jamel. One of my faves. So anything else? Did it answer your question? I don't know if it did.
I was just putting it out there to get your feedback because. Yeah. I ain't too huge on social media, and it's like I'm on there, but I didn't get anything either. Like I learned about it through what you talked about tonight, so it was like weird how this been so quiet.
Yeah, yeah. So it's interesting how it's just been under the radar. It's kind of interesting how that works. So maybe he got some ties that we don't know about, but nobody talked about it.
Very connected ties, man.
Yeah.
Illuminati.
I thought social media was the one place you couldn't hide from. You know what I mean? It's a public opinion.
Yeah.
Hey.
It could be also because he ain't trying to get the fake out. That wasn't me. Like that sometimes that can make a story bigger too. All these wasn't me, y'all lying. Like
yeah, he apologized before people found out. Hey, y'all gonna see this video. I apologize. You already working on it.
Before they told him he had to apologize. That can be part of it.
Yeah. So hopefully that works itself out well for the lady. For Dana White, I don't care. Hopefully he loses all of UFC. But anyways, that's just me, man. Keep that where it's at, and we'll hopefully we'll find out more about it. Hopefully ESPN does better, Fox Sports, everyone else associated does better as well. So let's move on to Fox Sport though, man. So if you guys did not notice, in week 17, Damar Hamlin, man, had like a really very unfortunate incident when he had a cardiac arrest. He suffered cardiac arrest following a tackle against T. Higgins in the Bengals game, and I think it was Monday Night Football, and his heart stopped on the middle of the field. They had to resuscitate him, give him CPR. They brought the ambulance, and it was really emotional. So essentially what happened was that the facilities, the teams, the organizations for both sides was going to figure out if they want to continue to play the game, because obviously, this was a very serious situation. very emotional for the players, the coaches, and staff. And they went back to the locker rooms to figure out how they want to proceed because, everyone wants to play the game, but their colleague, their compadre, their teammate is on the ground, and they don't know what's happening. They don't know where he's going to be because he got carted off and sent to the Cincinnati hospital for to be stabilized and everything. He was in critical condition, by the way, by the time he got to checked into the hospital. So, anyways, during this, old man Skip Bayless, he's known for saying stuff, and he says a lot of stuff, but this stuff right here is the stuff that really got the ire of the public opinion that we just talked about so much. In a tweet during the suspension of the game before it was officially canceled or postponed, Skip Bayless says that no doubt that the NFL is considering postponing the rest of this game, but how? This later in the season, a game of this magnitude is crucial to the regular season outcome, which certainly seems so irrelevant. So, of course, this caught the ire of everyone who read the tweet and said, you should be fired, cancel him, you're sick, disgusting, you shouldn't be saying this at this time, blah, 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 this and that, So it was a general pitching for, the old classic pitchfork, the riot coming for a person's head / job.
Whose man's is this?
Yeah, so, there was a follow-up, I think, where Skip and Shannon Sharp had tried Shannon Sharp tried to, provide a monologue in the opening segment of Undisputed, and halfway through it, Skip Bayless kind of interjected to make it seem like he thought that they wasn't going to talk about the tweet situation. So, anywho, we're going to talk about the tweet situation. What was your reaction to Skip Bayless' tweet, Kev?
Honestly, originally I wasn't really offended, but I learned about the tweet after I watched the monologue interruption, and the monologue interruption put me off. So I came into the tweet already looking for flames, for fire. But when I did read it at the time, it didn't really stoke that much fire in me, because at the end of the day, I saw him as what he is, which is a media personnel, someone that's going to report what's happening, and what's happening is a serious injury as well as a potential postponement with a game that has implications, and it is an organization that airs on TV and all this other stuff, and sponsors and ads and all these things are already put in place. So it's like there's a how and how we go forward from this. There is somebody's job to figure out what to do next. The fact that they even had to discuss, they did the suspension of the game first and discuss whether or not we're going to cancel it, lets you know that the situation is not as black and white with respect to how we should move forward. So him reporting it in that respect and following it up specifically because he followed it up with, which is so irrelevant right now, took me as like, here am I reporting what's happening, but at the same time, this doesn't even matter. So it seems like he was being an objective reporter as opposed to trying to take any position on the situation. So originally it didn't hit me in any real inflammatory way, but I can see why anyone would take it sideways. I can see why you would be upset. I can see what you would want him to be talking about and not really talking about that with the whole timing situation of when it was dropped. So I have no issues with people being in uproar and being upset. I just wasn't one of those people that was so upset about it.
Okay. Knives out. Reg, were you turned off by his tweet?
Turned off, yeah. But I don't get upset that easy, so I wouldn't say upset either. It didn't upset me, but I definitely understood why people were upset. I feel like Skip is one of those people who has this skill that could, even when they're right, they just have the way to be wrong. You know what I mean? And I think that's kind of alluding to what Kev was talking about. It's just like, what are you doing? Like, what? Like, his mindset, like, it just seemed like the timing was so bad in both that and during the monologue for him to feel like that was the time to correct whether he was going to take down the tweet or not. I don't think that was the point of the monologue. I didn't think it was interruption worthy. I think it's one of those situations where you save your questions and comments for the end. And the same thing with the actual injury or cardiac event that happened on the field. I think the context of it makes sense. Like, okay, yeah, like I don't even see how you postpone the game. This is something unprecedented, which I'm not sure. Is it unprecedented? Is this the first time a game's ever been suspended due to an injury?
To my knowledge, yes. For an NFL game, there have been people who died on the field. I want to say before, I think college, so or high school, but I don't recall an NFL game where someone actually died or stopped breathing, and they had to bring them back. So
wow.
So yeah. It could be one from like years ago, like decades ago, that I'm missing if it has happened before. But usually when injuries are serious injuries, it's like you see what happened, and they do an assessment and they stabilize them, they get them on a cart or get them in an ambulance, and they roll off. But
yeah,
having to bring out the dust off the seat, I'm gonna say the CPR, dust off the defibrillator to get somebody back up and revive is, I think, is a new level.
Yeah. So I mean, he's already inflamed. He has the skill to just get under people's skin. So I think it's just more of that. I don't know, man. He's been on one lately between the back and forth between him and Shannon. Like, I don't know how much of that is that they're in on it together, but it seems like he's reached new lows lately. So I don't know. Hopefully he apologizes. I don't know if he needs to take down the tweet or not, but he does need to address that. Like, he's offended some people.
Yeah.
So he did mention. I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt. He did mention he did have a tweet after that same Monday night on a separate tweet saying that nothing is more important than that of young man's health. That was the point of my last tweet. I'm sorry if it was misunderstood, but his health is all that matters. Again, everything else is irrelevant. I pray for him, and I will continue to. So that was his.
I think that's part of like when reading it again, and I reread it when Kev was saying it, and I reread it. Like, even within his tweet, I think it's hard to get context and like emotion through a tweet. Mm-hmm. But it seemed like that's what he was saying. Like, I don't see how you suspend a game, but which probably should have been the afterthought. But he finished saying like, but that seems irrelevant at this point.
Mm-hmm. It was a setup. It was a layup to make it be relevant. He's saying, okay, this is a big game. I don't know how they're gonna go about it, but as big as it is, it doesn't even seem to matter.
I don't think that comes through very well in text. And by the time probably people got halfway through that, they was just like, "Yo, Skip, what are you doing?"
Yeah, like you said, it is Skip, and I got no love for Skip, to be honest with you. So I'm not up here defending him or anything. Right? Yeah. He turns me off a lot, and the argument between him and Shannon, I just be want to come together sometimes. So it's like he's not someone I want to look at as being a defender of. But when I read it, like I said, and within the context of everything that was happening, you are a news reporter, and you reporting the facts of the situation, because coming into it, it was a big game. The incident still kept it, still had that attribute of being a big game. So mention that, to then follow up to mention that it's not even relevant, as big as it is. I see that as being the interplay of how you were presented. You know what I mean? Like, I'm telling you, this is a big game, but it's not even important because this is more important than anything else.
Mm-hmm. You know,
let's put it down.
In journalism, they have a saying that you don't bury a lead. So I think maybe just reconstructing that might have made it a more palatable. Just saying, like, you know, if you just address the more bigger elephant in the room first, like, oh my gosh, Hamlin's down. That's like, you know, hope he makes it okay. And then, like, maybe if after that you mentioned, like, I wonder how the NFL is going to handle that, I feel like it would have been
more
received
digestible.
better. Yeah, more digestible.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to bury the lead. But the headline that should be the meat. The headline, you start first. The details come at the bottom.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
I agree. But again, Skip Bayless always says stuff, but I wasn't taken aback by it. I was just more so like, I think when I first read it, because I read it while it was happening. Like, I don't know if you guys watched the game or watched it happen in real time and all the event that happened afterwards, because it was to the point to where they were like couldn't back away to the NFL studio or the ESPN Monday Night studio, and Boomer talking about like, have you seen it before? Like, they were just talking about the situation.
Filling space.
Yeah, they were just trying to find ways to fill that time slot at that point, because the people didn't know what to do, and it was taking. They were tired. They were out of commercial breaks. They went through all the commercial breaks. So, so like I said, like just doing that moment, for him to drop it during that moment where there was a lot of uncertainty, or people didn't know what was going on. I mean, there are people still in the stands trying to figure out like, okay, is this game going to continue?
Should I go home? Should I stay?
Yeah. And I mean, I think they finally got the signal when they started seeing the Bills people, the staff coming out like, hey, we loading up. Like, before it was originally or officially blasted to the fans, Bills was like, yeah, we better go. This is way more important. We can't focus on a game knowing that our guy is, we don't know if he's alive or whatever. Like, a lot of people went to the hospital the night after, the night of. So just understanding that context, and then for someone to just drop in. So when the next game gonna be played? I think that's just it's very tone deaf. It's very like, you're not reading the room. You're not understanding. I mean, everyone wants to know when the game is played, because I wanted to know as well, but I didn't want to know right now. I wanted to make sure, like, hey, are they like, what's the next step going to happen? Like, they say they're talking to the people in Roger Goodell offices and all that stuff, NFL offices, to try to figure out what the next steps are and all that. And I'm thinking like, okay, they're probably most likely gonna cancel the game. They're just trying to figure out who got to make the call, who has to sign off on this, NFLPA got to get on the phone, like all these logistics. I'm just looking at it from that standpoint. But like, I'm not thinking about like, and actually once I thought about it, I wasn't thinking about the game, but until like it was officially canceled or postponed, I'm just thinking like, yeah, they can't fit this in the schedule. It's week 17, it's a Monday Night Football game. You can't play within this week because they got to play on Sunday again. But like I said, it's just not one of those things you really just worry about. It's just like, let them do their job. Like, it's not something that I would even think to broadcast or to want to take attention away from. And I think like Skip had it reversed. It's as far as like, oh, this is postponed, blah 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 blah. Then this is a very critical game. All right, but it's irrelevant. Like, because so it really just he flipped the pyramid upside down. It was like trying to keep the stand. So
I want to challenge that perspective though, because you said a lot of things that actually gave more weight to the tweet, because you said everyone was in the stands wondering what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They were trying to figure out, are they going to postpone it? Or if they do postpone it, how would they go about postponing it? Who would have to sign off? Who would have to do all of this?
Yeah.
So if that's the context, then it actually fits the timing of what his tweet says, which is, no doubt the NFL is considering postponing the rest of this game.
Mm-hmm.
He's telling you, as someone who's watching, no doubt the NFL is considering postponing this game. If you were confused about what's happening and you're still in the stands and not going to your car, let me let you know, they're thinking about postponing this game, so you might as well get on out of here, if you understand that or not. But how? Because this never happened before. What's the precedent?
Yeah. Yeah.
And given how big this game is, that's still not even relevant because of what's happening with this injury. So I don't know, the way you lay it out just now, it lines.
It was on people's mind, even if people maybe they were afraid to say it out loud, but it was on. It's gonna happen. Because even funny story, Hamlin when he first woke up out of his medically induced coma, the first thing he said is, "Did we win?" So that's
interesting. Okay.
People love football. The players love football. The fans love football. So it is. It's a complicated situation.
Yeah,
I'll say.
Yeah,
but somebody has to report it though. So like, I feel like take the bag.
Skip is unlikable. Don't be the first. Read the room. Maybe you don't have to be the first one. I don't know. I'm not saying he obviously that's his job. He does what he's doing. I'm just.
Hey, but the room was saying we don't know. If everyone got up and left, then the room would be clear. The room would be saying this game is over. It's not even important to me anymore. But everyone was sitting there to see if the ball's gonna get spiked again. Like what? Like so like.
I meant read the room in the terms of people don't want to hear from Skip right now.
Yeah.
It's not always the message. It's the messages sometimes.
Yeah. So no, it was definitely one of those things that like nobody knew what to do. Like I think, and so I think that was probably like the overarching conclusion. If anything, to be conclusive was no one knew what to do. But they were showing images of like people crying, like the players crying, Stephon Diggs and things like that. So which would invoke some level of like this is serious enough, and I mean fans think there's probably some fans who was like, all right, we're gonna see what happens, because I didn't even know what's gonna happen. I was like, yo, are we still playing or no? So they were like having the camera on the Bills locker room. The Bengals said, we just follow your lead, Bills, because it's your teammate and blah blah blah. Whatever you guys agree with or go with, we go to be lock in step with you. And they had but the locker room was like, they had people in front of them, like you wasn't able to get nothing. The press was not gonna be able to get through, so they just sitting outside waiting for someone to tell them something. And the phone being passed around and things like that. So like we knew they were trying to figure it out. From the fan side of things, if you're in the stands, you don't know anything. Like you just sitting there waiting. And again, the Bills started packing up before the fans who stuck around to figure out what was gonna happen decided to be like, oh, okay, we can see something happening here. So it don't look like they're getting warmed up. So I guess it's time before the initial official announcement came. It was a lot of confusion, but I think if you were just like, unless Skip Bayless was in the stands, which I doubt it was, because he was probably chilling at the house with his wife. He was probably like watching shit like everyone else, and everyone talked about, man, like this is tough. Boomer was talking about as an ex-football player, never seen anything like it. People, NFL players crying like on the field and stuff like that. Like, all right, this is way more serious. And I mean, maybe at that point in time, don't jump on Twitter, give your thoughts about like those things. I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm just saying that that's probably like.
Said it, man. You got a skill at being wrong.
I remember though, Chris. I totally hear what you're saying, but you gotta remember, if the decision already came out saying we're going to postpone the game, there is no reason to act. There is no reason to suggest that the NFL is considering postponing the game. The considering is the continuous verb there. It's actually telling you what's happening in the moment. Yeah. So that is the moment. I couldn't report that any other time, but that time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're a reporter, like. You're
right. He's not wrong.
Yeah,
he's not wrong. It's just like if somebody been like, "Hey man, I think he gonna die." It's just like, hey, we don't want to hear that, right?
Yeah, but you're not a reporter. Like you giving me.
I agree with you. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm agreeing with you. I'm just saying, like, even then, we still gonna give that person still gonna get the side eye. It just is what it is.
When I saw it, I was like, "This is over. Like, there's no way. There's no way. Game. There's no way." That was if you're asking me my personal opinion on what was going on, there's no way the game could continue.
Mm-hmm. I did want to say this. This is gonna sound strange. I don't think I ever said this before, and I'm not even sure if they did. But like, shout out to the NFL for getting it right.
Yeah.
Right. As right.
Why would you get it? Wow.
No, but I'm saying, like, in terms of like how they handled the situation, thank God he made it. But like, I don't know what right is in the situation. It's very complicated, but I feel like they kind of got it right, like how they handle it and approach the situation.
Sure.
Because we do, when they get it wrong, we always say that. So I feel like they got it right. They handled it as well as could be, and
Yeah,
I just want to say that. I just want to put that out there.
that
Better not have
just
forced those players back on the field. I see. You better not have forced those players back on the field. Like,
Yeah, I mean, a part of the reason I said that too is like I don't know if it's because of this happened. I saw an article about like this Amazon facility where a coworker there died and somebody just put up cardboard boxes or something and didn't let the people know that their coworker died. So this whole next shift came in and they were working while they had a dead coworker right there. And by the time they found out, like players, a lot of the employees were very upset. Some of them called in sick the next, like it was a whole thing. That's all allegedly, you know, Amazon that there was cardboard boxes or whatever the case is. But it's just they said, oh, we can't give you information on somebody's health status. That's why they handled it the way like. So I'm just saying, like, just putting how wrong an employer can get it when they don't put what's important first, and seeing how the NFL handled again a complicated situation. I just wanted to point out like they got it relatively right.
Yeah, you're right. It's just funny that to me I chuckle because that's just to me seems like of all the things to me it seemed like this would have been the hardest one to mess up. But with the NFL, it's always
There's a lot.
Boy, their track record ain't that great. So
Look at ESPN. It's hard to be like, well, you know, sponsors expecting this, and this is gonna cost X amount of dollars. Like it's, you know, to make the right decision is not always the right business decision. Sometimes it's the right ethical decision. So weighing all of that and then coming to the conclusion they did, I feel like they did.
That's cool. You said that's the first time the NFL got it right. So yeah. I don't know if you want to say that again this year.
We'll see. But hey, Brady going to the playoffs.
Oh my gosh. Brady going to the playoffs, man. So yeah, man. So anything else y'all want to add to Skip or Fox Sports or Twitter or just news media outlets in general? Because man, this is
I don't know.
Yeah,
Support Club Shay Shay. I don't even know. I can't point you to Stephen A. now. I'll start watching Fox Sports, but ESPN messing up too, man. Just support the Club Shay Shay.
Yeah, man. Hey, support us. I'll still support Michael Smith and Jamel Hill whenever they get their show back again if they ever want to run it back.
Support the warm up.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it, man. All right, we can go ahead and close this shop. I'll let you kick it off. Reg, Knives Out, Reg, man.
No factoids today, but shout out to our fourth guy, and just shout out to y'all for riding with us. So appreciate y'all listening through. Like, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. We'll figure out the handles and stuff on the other platforms that we're on. I don't know if we transition everything or not, but we'll get it together by next time.
Is that Reddit?
Yeah,
Reddit and YouTube you changed already?
Oh yeah, everything else has changed. So yeah, even this YouTube channel is the Warmup podcast. I think it's the Warmup podcast. Yes, Warmup podcast. So
and Spotify, Apple Music, all that.
All that's that was already like that. So
okay,
just kind of streamline it because I didn't want to keep, I didn't want to give any misdirection or make things convoluted. So keep it simple.
Sure.
Cool. Kev, what you got?
As usual, appreciate y'all rocking with us. We know your time is valuable, so we always appreciate when you spend it with us. Like my man said, shout out to our fourth member who wasn't able to make it tonight. And shout out to DeMar Hamlin, happy to see he's better, recovering. And it's funny that he woke up and said, did we win? That's a real baller mindset right there. And Skip, he will remain unlikable. That's just what it is. That's just what it is, man. But let us know your thoughts, what you feel about this show, how you feel about the commentary. You agree, disagree. We always here to hear your thoughts. You can hit us up on the YouTube side of things or come into the Discord and you can chat with us.
Definitely. And so, yeah, man, shout out to DeMar Hamlin. Obviously, like I said, he's been checked out. He's back with the team, or at least I believe he's back in the direction of the team. So, he's healthy now, man. So good thing that, it worked out for the best for him. Shout out to Jamel Hill, because, she always bringing light the stuff that be happening, so she ain't afraid, and I always appreciated that about her. Shout out to the man, that's it, man. Skip Bayless, you know, I don't dislike Skip Bayless, but yeah, I know what Skip Bayless is, so I just kind of like he is definitely a character. He definitely is can sell some sports stories, sports topics and stuff. So, you know, it is what it is. But you know, again, thanks for subscribing to us. If you haven't subscribed to us, just please hit the subscribe button, hit the follow and the like, and you know, all the videos and stuff. Hit the notification bell to know when you get the new video drops and all that, man. You can check us out again. Follow us on the IG and the Twitter. Like I said, the Warmup Pod, all underscores in between the words, because it's just easier that way. And yeah, man, like I said, tell a friend and tell a friend if you liked it. You know what I mean? It helps us grow. So, you know, we're here every Wednesday, so we'll leave y'all here until next Wednesday. Until then, guys, deuces.
Peace.